On this episode of Law Weekly, we look at how well the judiciary fared under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. We also have the views of a senior legal practitioner, Jubrin Okutepa. Also showing on the program, highlights from the 2023 Biennial Conference of the National Association of Women Judges in Nigeria and the annual Afe Babalola lecture organized by the Nigerian Bar Association at Ado-Ekiti branch in honor of the legal luminary Afe Babalola, plus a recap of the top trending legal stories in the news. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Shola Shuyeli. The 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration can be described as eventful but very controversial years in the history of the Nigerian judiciary. Despite several reforms introduced to improve the image and output of the judiciary, issues of access to justice, delay in the process of justice delivery, the independence of the judiciary, and even prison congestion still continue to plague the judiciary. In this next report, we look at how well the judiciary fared under the Buhari administration. Throughout his campaign for office and since he came into power on May 29, 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari did not hide the fact that one of the main focus of his government will be the fight against corruption. To achieve this, he needed the buy-in of the judiciary, as he made good his promise by going after alleged corrupt persons. While some of these cases, spearheaded by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC), and the police, were concluded and convictions obtained, many others have continued to drag through the court system without any end in sight. The Buhari administration did not stop at only going after corrupt persons. It also moved against alleged corrupt judicial officers. On October 7, 2017, operatives of the Department of State Services (DSS) raided the home of 7 judges, including 2 justices of the Supreme Court. These unprecedented events, which drew widespread outcry from the public, led to their arrest and subsequent suspension from the bench by the National Judicial Council (NJC). Those arrested in the wake of the raid were Justices Sylvester Nguta and Justice Iyango Koro, both of the Supreme Court, the suspended presiding justice of the Court of Appeal Ilorin Division, Justice Mohammed Ladan Samiya, Justice Kabiru Auta of the Kano State High Court, and Justice Adeniyi Ademola of the Federal High Court, Abuja. Although the DSS alleged that it recovered over 270 million naira from the judges' houses, the NJC later reinstated all of them, and all those arraigned over allegations of corruption were also set free.
It is in the past 8 years, I certainly haven't witnessed this before, that we are having judges' homes being raided at night by security agencies. And it's simply a new low. It is the third arm of government, or certainly an arm of government, of equal positioning as the executive and the legislature should be treated as such. So that respect that should be accorded to the judiciary was largely impinged upon.
Another issue that shook the judiciary under the Buhari administration was the controversial exit of 2 Chief Justices of Nigeria, Justice Walter Nkanu Onogen and Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed. While Justice Onogen was sacked over allegations of false asset declaration, Justice Tanko Mohammed resigned voluntarily on health grounds. The toga of lawlessness on the neck of President Buhari's administration also persisted throughout his tenure. Critics accused him of violations of human rights, the rule of law, and outright disobedience of court orders. The point are the cases of Ibrahim El-Zakzaki and his wife, the case of a former National Security Advisor, Colonel Sambo Daksuki, and that of the publisher of Sahara Reporters, the convener of Revolution Now, Omoyele Sowore, and the orders on the new Naira redesign policy as examples. The incidents of jailbreaks in prisons also continued unabated throughout the tenure of the Buhari administration. But one notable reform in this sector was the change of the name of the prison service to Nigerian Correctional Services. To tackle the problem of congestion in the prisons, the government also unveiled a technology for court reporting and a virtual court sitting facility at the Kuje Correctional Center for virtual court sitting proceedings in the year 2022. One thing critics cannot take away from President Buhari is his strong advocacy for financial autonomy. He faced strong opposition from the state governments who rejected his effort in this regard. But he achieved this goal when recently it was revealed that he had assented to 16 constitutional amendment bills, including the Judiciary Autonomy Bill. Under the new amendments to the Constitution, the judiciary will now enjoy financial autonomy as the first-line charge on revenue allocated to the state government.
We have to protect and enhance the judiciary if we will continue to have a forum for independent justice, confident justice, and make the judiciary attractive to the best of lawyers.
When the new government takes over on May 29, it must commit at both the federal and state levels to respect the rule of law, obey court judgments, respect the independence of the judiciary, and initiate holistic reforms to reposition the third arm of government. The caliber of person appointed as the Attorney General of the Federation is significant in this regard. Also, the government needs to articulate a coherent policy framework that clearly defines the roles and relationships between and among the components of the Nigeria criminal justice system. A senior legal practitioner, Jubrin Okutekpa, also shared with Law Weekly his views on how well the judiciary fared under the Buhari administration.
Well, it will be difficult to assess the Nigerian judiciary fairly, given that they are just doing their very best in the most unfavorable environmental conditions. And what do I mean? The courts in Nigeria have been overburdened under this government, and majorly our courts are preoccupied with just pre-elections and political matters, to the detriment of normal cases in court. You discover that this administration, with respect, seems to have subjected the judiciary to the most excruciating and denigrating treatments, in my view. Look at the raids on the houses of judicial officers. While one is not in support of judicial corruption or any corruption in whatever form, the methodology adopted in dealing with those things go a long way to either cast aspersion or give a pass mark. So if you ask me, I think the judiciary under this government functions in the most difficult circumstances that it's difficult to give an acceptable pass mark. Precedents under this government seems to have lost its potency of consistency, because judgments and decisions you see of our superior courts are inherently contradictory. So lawyers find it extremely difficult to rely on judgments of court and be too certain to advise clients. Even if you talk about appointment and filling of vacancies, up to as today that the government is winding up, the Supreme Court is operating below the constitutionally allowed number of justices of that court. As of today, I'm not too sure the lordships of the Supreme Court are more than 12, whereas the Constitution makes provisions for 21 maximum. Then you discover that even to have appointment to the Court of Appeal, pose greater difficulties for this Buhari's government. So for me, it will be difficult for me to assess the judiciary on the basis of either the enjoyment they have or the performances of their offices, because they just did their very best to let people know that they still exist. Otherwise, completely for me, the Nigerian system seems to be gradually killing the judiciary. So I cannot as a lawyer, begin to dish out percentages of pass mark as some will do. But as far as I'm concerned, the system, those who are coming on board are part of the system that has produced and put the judiciary where we are today. So, except they got born again and begin to change and allow the judiciary to function, first, there must be no interference in the judicial process, either subtly, overtly, or covertly. They must be independent of the judiciary. Judges must be allowed to work. Politicians must allow our judiciary to work. Lawyers who are acting as conduit pipe must allow our judges to work. Judges themselves must not give appearance of their availability. Because when you give appearance that you are available to be used, then anybody want to use you. So their lordships of all shades of opinion must be above board. They must not give appearance that they are available. And they must fight for their independence by not succumbing to executive, legislative, or social pressure coming from every manner of quarters. So my admonition is, first of all, we must agree and believe that without judiciary, without the rule of law, without independent judiciary, democracy will be on its way to perdition. And the manner in which we have totally put our judiciary to test in political cases, we need to reduce it. Our politicians need to respect democratic norms and principles. This kind of behavior that is going on of even those who have failed in power want to anoint their successor in power, and there are no internal democracy, has been one of the greatest challenges that the judiciary in Nigeria is facing. And it is difficult for one to know what to tell the Nigerian politicians. Nigerian politicians seem to enjoy the injustice that permeates every nook and cranny of our society. So I just wish that the incoming government, whoever the incoming government may be, whether it's the one to be sworn in on 29th, or there will be subsequent person based on what is pending in court, or it will be a continuation of this one. The government must do everything to see that the manner in which the judicial system has been emasculated and pocketed, so to say, in terms of appointments, in terms of promotion, in terms of welfare, in terms of everything good, must be done away with. Because there can be no correct investments in an environment where the judiciary is not independent, in an environment where judgments or courts are of doubtful origin or very of questionable character, where ordinary people in the street will actually know that in this water must have passed under the bridge. So we need the political class to allow the judiciary in Nigeria to function maximally. So I appeal to the incoming government to leave judiciary alone, allow judiciary to function well, fund the judiciary well, let there be specialties of court, dust out the Ways Commission, the report, and let us implement it for the good of all, and let us respect our laws, because we don't respect law and order in this country. We are just such a lawless society, and the incoming government must ensure that this country is not as lawless as it met it.
Welcome back. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, is urging all critical stakeholders to synergize to tackle human trafficking and other issues of gender-based violence in the country. Justice Ariwoola spoke at the opening ceremony of the 2023 Biennial Conference of the National Association of Women Judges in Nigeria. The CJN says the salient issue, which has taken a new dimension, including organ harvesting, is a cankerworm eating deep into all spheres of the country.
It is the biennial conference of the National Association of Women Judges in Nigeria. Present at the event is the Chief Justice of Nigeria, President, International Association of Women Judges, Honorable Justice Binta Nyako, President, Court of Appeal, Honorable Justice Monica Mensem, and the President, National Association of Women Judges, Honorable Juma Sanke, amongst others. The Chief Justice of Nigeria tells the participants his hope that the conference will create a platform to address pertinent issues like gender-based violence and human trafficking, which he says affects largely women and vulnerable persons.
This is an issue which largely affects all, that is, women, men, and children, especially persons of vulnerability in exploited, deceived, coerced, or abused for the illicit use of their organs. As such, the ongoing fight against human trafficking remains a task that all stakeholders must close ranks to tackle.
As though calling the women judges to the task outlined by the Chief Justice, the President, National Association of Women Judges, who is very concerned about the statistics of women judges and judicial officers in the country, says more needs to be done to get more women in leadership positions.
Women judges should therefore not rest on our oars. Rather, this should serve as a clarion call to your lordships to strive to excel in your various jurisdictions, continue to work diligently, and serve with integrity in order to encourage more appointments of women judges to the bench, as well as appointments of women judges to leadership positions in the judiciary.
The President, International Association of Women Justices, reiterates the commitment of the association to ensuring equal access to justice delivery.
The IAWJ is there to stand up for the rights of every person, without color or religion.
This two-day conference provides an opportunity for judges and participants across the country to deliberate and propose solutions to the lingering issues in the country, as well as help reinforce the capacity of women justices in Nigeria.
Now, away from that event, the instrumentality of the law is beyond getting meal tickets for practitioners, but to be used as a weapon for economic recovery, sanity by those in power, and tactical policy creation for the country. This is part of the takeaways from the Afe Babalola annual lecture organized by the Nigerian Bar Association at Ado-Ekiti branch in honor of legal luminary Afe Babalola. The guest speaker at the event challenged the Supreme Court of Nigeria to do more than being an error-correcting court to a policy court. We have the report up next.
It's a gathering of lawyers, lecturers, students, and other knowledge seekers here at the 2023 edition of the Afe Babalola annual lecture put together by the Nigeria Bar Association, Ado-Ekiti chapter. This lecture focuses on addressing the Nigerian economic challenges through the instrumentality of the law, and the guest lecturer will not spare the Supreme Court of Nigeria for failing to grow beyond correcting errors.
I had occasion to speak to justices of Supreme Court at a forum, and I drew their attention to the fact that the role of the Supreme Court as the apex court, you are final, not because you are infallible, but you are infallible because you are final. Yes, you have said this over and over. I said, my Lord, with great respect and trepidations, I tell you, you have treated our courts more as an error-correcting court. Supreme Court should move from being an error-correcting court. Court of Appeal, you are wrong here, you are wrong there, you are wrong there. No, that is error-correcting. You should turn the court to become a policy court. And as a policy court, it means that you can create policies in form of legislation. You don't make laws directly, but indirectly you are making the law.
For the man at the center of the lecture, elections that are representative and based on professional bodies is a way out of the nation's quagmire. He insisted that the current National Assembly has failed to check Nigeria's debt profile.
How can we be owing over so many trillions of dollars, and yet when you want to leave the office in a few days' time, you are asking for another $800 million? None of you said a word, and without anybody agreeing it, the members of House pass it immediately. If you have the right type of House of Assembly, they will say, no, we have it debt, we can't pay it, we can't even pay the interest, and yet you are adding more. That's why we need a new constitution.
Legal practitioners in attendance left with a consensus to take up new challenges thrown at them.
And just before we go, let's quickly do a recap of some of the top trending stories from the courtrooms.
We begin with a ruling many had anticipated to come from the highest court in the country on the issue of the alleged double nomination of Senator Kashim Shettima, the vice president-elect for the 2023 general elections. The Supreme Court dismissed the suit filed by the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, challenging the matter for lacking in merit. Justice Adamu Jauro, who read the judgment, added that the PDP acted as a meddlesome interloper and a busybody as it is an internal affair of the APC. The court also awarded a sum of 2 million naira against the PDP. On the case of Uche Nwosu, which the PDP relied on, the Supreme Court Justice reminded the party that the court made the decision as at that time and are fully aware of the details. At the Presidential Election Petition Court, the tribunal has dismissed the applications brought before it by the presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and Labour Party, Peter Obi, asking that the daily proceedings of the courts be televised. In a unanimous ruling, the five-man panel led by Justice Haruna Samani dismissed the applications for lacking in merit. The court held that no regulatory framework or policy direction permitted it to grant the application. It further held that the petitioners failed to establish how the live coverage of the proceedings will advance their case, adding that live broadcasts will not add to the determination of the petitions. They also noted that the request was not part of the reliefs in the petitions before it. Still in Abuja, the Court of Appeal has fined a former presidential candidate, Chief Ambrose Owuru, 40 million naira for filing a frivolous suit seeking to stop the inauguration of the president-elect, Bola Tinubu, on May 29. The court ordered him to pay the sum of 10 million naira each to President Muhammadu Buhari, the Attorney General of the Federation, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and Senator Bola Tinubu. And we round up in Lagos with a report that the Lagos State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has dismissed the petitions filed by the Allied People's Movement, APM, and Action People's Party, APP, against the election of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his deputy, Obafemi Hamzat. The chairman of the three-man tribunal, Justice Harum Ashom, dismissed the petition after the petitioners withdrew from them. Other members of the tribunal are Justice Mikhail Abdullahi and Justice Igor Braimo.
At the last sitting of the tribunal, the petitioners, through their lawyers Henry Bello, representing the APM, and Francis Esse for the APP, told the tribunal that their clients had lost interest in pursuing the petitions. Apart from the Lagos State Governor and his deputy, other respondents to the two petitions are the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the All Progressives Congress, APC.
And that's the program for today. If you missed any parts of it, you can find it in past episodes on our YouTube channel. Do also give us feedback via any of our social media platforms. I'm Shola Shayeli. Thank you for watching and